All right, so now that I've had the chance to properly talk about how the deck is built, I want to go over how it's played. This deck is kind of complex in the way that the way the two archetypes synergize with each other is very different than most other archetypes, especially in the previous format where Snake Eye usually just used Beatrice as a bridge into the Snake Eye cards through the Fiendsmiths. This doesn't work the same way it does in this deck, where you have to sometimes draw the Thunder cards to get the most value out of them when you're playing through it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over a couple of 1 to 2 card combos, that just smaller mid-range combos that let you play into hand traps. And then after I'm done with it, I will show you, we'll just do some simple test hands, and I'll show you how to play them out. So the first one you'd want to do is any combination of these two, either one of these and one of these, or whatever. You need to just draw access to Fiendsmiths and access to one of your Dark Thunders. You'll start by going, we'll go with these two for now. So first thing you're gonna do, you're gonna go Tract and you're gonna go search Lurie. Digging into here, let me get it for just a second. There you go, Lurie. You're in fact not gonna discard Lurie off of this. What you're gonna do is you're actually gonna pitch the Thunder Dragon Roar. Reason being is that you need this in the graveyard when you go into your combo, so that way you can dig, or that you can turn on your Thunder cards. You don't need your normal summon in this deck, which is part of the reason why you don't play nearly as many Matrix anymore. So you just do this instead. You'll then normal the Lurie, link 1 into the Requiem. You'll go Requiem effect, getting the Engraver, equip the Requiem, and then you'll turn both into the Necroquip. And then you'll go Fiendsmith effect, putting back the Lurie. You put back the Lurie, not the Requiem, because you want to be able to reuse this later. And I'm on multiple copies of the tracks, so you want to actually have multiple of this available for you. Then you special the Engraver. Then instead of doing the usual play where you would overlay this into Caesar, what you'll actually do is you'll go link 2 into Little Knight, or if you have Dark in the grave, you make Haggard Lizardos. You'd go Little Knight, banish Roar, and then Roar effect special from deck. They'll get the Dark. You'll then go 2. This is where you would make the second Little Knight if I played it. Otherwise, you can just tutor into any of these that you wish. I will, in this case, I'll go for Haggard. You'll go Dark effect search. You'll get the Hawk. You then go Hawk, Roar, this into Colossus. Now, if you play the 2 Little Knight, which I do recommend, and I'm probably going to end up doing again after this coming week, you would play the second one of this, because not only do you still play into Nib fairly well, because if you have the Little Knight up here, right, and then you have the Roar down here, your opponent, there's no person on the planet that doesn't play this deck that knows to nib here. This is where you nib if you know your opponent, if your opponent is on Thunder. Reason being is that if you do not nib here, we would go into the Colossus, and then if you nib me now, we tag out both of these, your nib fizzles, going, and I now have knowledge that you have that in hand. These will then return in the end phase, and they come back, and then you're balling. Okay, that's the basic combo. I suppose we should show off how to tutor from the Thunder cards into the Fiendsmith cards. Keep in mind, tutoring from Thunder to Fiendsmith is a lot different than tutoring from Fiendsmith to Thunder. You don't need to draw any Fiendsmith cards to do that, so we will just do the good old-fashioned Solar Hawk. This is, to this day, the still best 2-card combo you can have in your hand, because it tutors into Nibiru proof, and it also gives you follow-up. So you go normal Solar, dump the Roar, you go Hawk here for Roar, Solar summon the token, link the token into either Anima or Link Spider. We'll go with Link Spider here. You go these two into the Closed Moon, and you'll get Dark. Okay, from here, your opponent has 2 options. If they are going to nib you, this is more likely where they're going to nib you, because if you continue down this line, they're going to wait to nib you until you have the Necroquip on the field and the Engraver on the field. That way they trade 4 for 1. They get a better trade out of it. However, because Dark is on the field, we are actually insulated from nib. We still make a board regardless if they have nib or not. So how I will show this is I'll show you what happens if you get nibbed, and then we'll go back to this, and then we'll show you what happens if you don't get nibbed. So say you get nibbed right here, right? Okay, whatever, you got nibbed. You can get Dark, depending on what you have, you can tutor into a fusion for getting more lines off that. You can also tutor into Matrix if you already have enough gas for the setup, making Titan, and then if you have the Thunder Dragon in hand, you'll always have access to Colossus. Okay, so say you don't get nibbed, right? You have this here. It's about as standardized as it gets. Usually 9 times out of 10, what they will do is that they will actually wait to nib you if they're smart. They will wait because you can do Fold's Fiendsmith combo here, basically getting the Necroquip and the Engraver, doing the line I just showed you now. They will nib you here. This is still fine because you'll still get the Dark Float. However, if they don't nib you here, you are still totally fine because you have Caesar. And now, not only are you still able to make Colossus, you can turn both of these into Colossus now, because we live in a world where Colossus is at more than 1 copy. Make sure to play. These are not in the extra monster zones at all, so that way you can play around Anima. It comes up now and then. So let's go ahead and do just a standard, line. We'll do a standard 5-card opening hand. We'll do it with a Fiends. We'll keep drawing until we draw a Fiendsmith, because otherwise this is just more standard run-of-the-mill Thunder plays. Give a quick shuffle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. This hand is pretty standard. This is the one I showed first. So first thing we're going to do, you're going to want to use Tract first. Reason being is that if you do the Engraver, you will then get droll. Could possibly get drolled. You don't want that to happen. So you go Tract, search the Lurie. You then don't pitch the Lurie. You keep it in your hand because you don't need to use your normal summon. Dark, you normal the Lurie, go 1 into the Requiem, Requiem into Engraver, Requiem on the Engraver, fuse off, make Necroquip, revive the Engraver, putting back the Lurie, so that way the Engraver in your hand is live, because then that way you can pitch this, add another Tract, and then you can use the Lurie to do the same combo later, or a similar combo later. Okay, so assuming our opponent does not have nib, because we have Dark in the graveyard, you're gonna go for Haggard Lizardos here. So we'll go these 2 into Haggard. Haggard, target itself, banish Dark, Dark effect search, getting Hawk, Hawk into Dark, Dark into Colossus, and then you're balling. You got enough gas to play next turn. You also have follow-up in the form of the Engraver and the Revive off the Engraver Engrave, because you also have this Engrave, so it means you have removal as well. One thing I do want to mention about Necroquip is that this has double value here. In this deck, most of your cards pitch themselves to activate a card effect, so if you have this on your field and you have like a Thunder Dragon in hand, or if you have a Hawk in hand, it's sometimes optimal to keep those in your hand until you get to the point where this is on the field, so you can get the free +1. Let's go ahead and do another riffle. We'll do like 1 or 2 more of these, and then we'll call it there. Tract, Nib, Roar, Ash, Nib. Okay, this is pretty much the same hand we just got, so let's go ahead and do another one. Tract, Magnamut, Imperm, this. Okay. With this hand, you probably want to dig a little bit here. You want to get to access to one of your Dark Fusions, and so we go ahead and allure here. draw a couple cards, and then you're balling. You got Dark, banish Dark, Dark, search the Hawk. Then at this point, you no longer need to even normal summon to make full board. So what you can do here is, because you have the Tract already, we'll go Tract, search and pitch Lurie, so that way we can preserve our normal summon for the Matrix. Lurie, revive itself, link off, making the Requiem. Requiem into Engraver. Re-equip. Fuse for Necroquip. Engraver, putting back the Lurie, so that way our other Tracts and Engravers are live for next turn. You can turn these two into Caesar. Now you're nib proof, so you can go into the rest of your combo with no issues at all. So you can go Hawk, Dark, Dark, Colossus, and then because we preserve the normal summon by not using the Lurie, we can normal the Matrix, turn this into second Colossus, Matrix search itself, and then you have a spicy hand. You can even dig further if you really want to try to get for a fusion or a roar. That's not necessary here because you already have plenty of follow-up. You have the Engraver, which will be in the graveyard during your turn. You'll also have the Magnamut to get searching off that way. And you have a Lure, which you can preserve for next turn, because who knows, maybe you'll draw a Roar, or the Lurie that you shuffled back, because of course we do. Let's go ahead and do one more. See if we can get a more crazy combo-filled hand, like a Lupine plus Solar or something like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This hand sucks. This is Colossus Pass. Actually, maybe there's something to be done here. Like, you need to go Thunder, make Colossus, normal this, turn into the thing, but then at that point you don't have any follow-up other than just Caesar, Imperm, Ash, which is not bad, but you'd be better off just making Colossus and preserving the Ash for follow-up turns. Lurie, Solar Hawk. This hand is kind of interesting. We don't need to go Tract here. We can just do combo while maintaining the Lurie. Let's go ahead and give it a shot. We'll freestyle a bit here. We'll go Solar, dump Roar. We'll go Hawk for Roar. Token, turn into Spider. Turn these two into the where's that? Moon of Close Heaven. Roar is going to trigger to special from deck. We'll get a Dark. And again, if they're going to nib you right here, that's fine. You have full access to the rest of your cards. If they're smart, they won't nib you. Or if they're smart, they would nib you here because this is the technical best time to do it, but they shouldn't either way. Or at the very least, they'll be hesitant to do it until you at least get to the point where this has been linked off for the Requiem, at which point you will be able to play through that way. You can do one of two things here. You can turn this into Colossus, so that way you can use the Dark to search the fusion before committing to the nib, or before your opponent commits to nib. That's an option, so you make Titan at the very least at the end of your turn. Or, which is more likely they will do, is that they will just let this fester here. And then you go this into this into the, where's that? The Engraver. Re-equip, make Necroquip. And then you can recycle the Engraver, this time putting back the Moon, because we already have the Lurie, we don't need to preserve it anymore. You can also pitch the Matrix here to boost this, just to get the free draw. It's probably not necessary, especially since we're going to have access to more Thunders in just a moment anyway. If you really want to and you're convinced your opponent doesn't have nib, you could begin by turning this into Colossus, and then the Dark will search the Thunder Dragon. And then you just go Thunder Dragon, and then in open game state, this will resolve, getting you a +1. Hopefully we don't draw the third Thunder Dragon. That would be unfortunate. Cool, we drew Fusion, which is like even better. At this point, they likely don't have Nib. However, you still want to make the Caesar because Caesar is still broken. Turn this into a Colossus, which is around here somewhere. Why are you in grave? Get out of the grave. You're not supposed to be in grave. And then you have, like, everything. If your opponent nibs you here, you negate it. If they don't, you fusion, make the Titan. Then you have 2 Colossus, double Caesar negate, and a pop, and you have follow-up from the fusion, and you have the Lurie still. So, yeah, that's pretty much the long and short of it. There's a handful of other combos you could go into. I suppose we could, at another time, do a more pure version of the deck and its combos. If you want to see that, put it somewhere, let me know. I'm already planning on making a pure version of Thunder Dragons because I have a feeling that most of the people that watch this content can't afford engravers, which is, you know, valid. This card is stupid expensive for a good reason, but it is still ridiculously expensive. So if you want to see a pure list or a pure version without the engravers, do full combos and stuff like that, post double Colossus, please let me know. Have a good day, gamers.